Look at these petals as they fall. Look at that is quality. That is quality right here. Look at those petals falling. Well, you're hearing that music? In fact, let's turn it up a tiny bit, maybe. We want to hear that music. Yeah, you like that? Bet you like it. Alright. At least it's full screen. Well, yeah, this game actually supports full screen, unlike that game from last night that was a headache. If you have nightmares from this, you're holding me responsible. Damn. Also, did Isaac already leave? I bet he did. I bet that bitch left. That untrustworthy hoe. Alright. Let's get started. Let me take a drink of water. Okay. Alright. What's your dream? My dream? Something that keeps you going. Why do you ask? I'm curious. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I'm not used to thinking about things like that. Unfortunately, she is a he. What are we talking? Who? I guess I just want to be able to tell people a story. See real feelings when they react to my acting. Make them let go of all the pretense they carry every day and get lost in the fantasy that I create. Okay. The music is just fine, but it is a little bit loud. To forget themselves and set their most sincere feelings free. It's the voice acting for you? What, you hate my voice acting? Bro, that's the whole point of my channel. It's listening to my stupid voices. Why isn't this video showing in your subscription? You only found out because of a notification? Well, that's YouTube. And set their most sincere feelings free. Laugh, gasp, cry. Like there are no barriers between us at all. I need to fix my voice? You need to fix yourself, bro. In this world, everything you will and won't be able to become is determined the moment of your birth. Like a ticking time bomb. The fate already decided lies within you, waiting in silence. Each day, until the day of revelation. Presenting is what they call it. Ew, no! When a child is no longer just a child, but an alpha, a beta, I also hate Omegaverse, guys, just for reference. I truly hate Omegaverse. Or an Omega. A secondary gender that forms that from now on determines it all. I can't remember my parents' faces. I don't even know who they were, except two unfortunate souls that couldn't even afford to raise their own child. After a few straining years, when they finally gave up on the struggle of having to provide for me, a town orphanage offered to release them from that burden. It wasn't long before it became my new home. Omegaverse is good. Omegaverse is some degenerate bullshit, and truly, it makes me sick. Let's keep playing. It was by no means a bad place. I had food, a roof over my head, and all the basic necessities a growing child would need. The orphanage caretakers looked after me to the best of their abilities. Please let me see your face. Where's your webcam? You want to see my face, sis? Is that what you want? Sis? Huh? I look awful now, sis. See, look how bad I look right now. Look how bad I look. We were schooled. The organization, supported financially by City Hall, was obligated to provide basic education to everyone under its care. We were taught how to read and write, how to do simple calculations, and even how to paint and dance. I learned many things I would have never known had I been raised on the streets like many other less fortunate children my age. Not long after my 13th birthday, things took a turn for the worse. Wait, did he say 13th birthday? Let me just see. Yes. Oh, he's gonna have sexy 13-year-old sex? Maybe. Maybe, guys. Dye your hair, please? What the hell's wrong with you? I'm not gonna be one of those Tumblr people dyeing their hair all sorts of colors. Crazy ass motherfuckers. Alright. I woke up in the middle of the night covered in sweat. The sticky film of the blanket clung to my form uncomfortably, like a slick second skin, leaving my clothing completely soaked. I sat up and looked around, glancing at the dark rows of beds. Everyone else seemed to be asleep. I had a splitting headache. He's gonna get, like, fucked to death by an alpha right now. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like I was going to burst from my chest. Kuro, no cuss, babe? Oh, I'll cuss alright. You don't tell me what the fuck. My mind was foggy, thoughts getting less clear with every passing moment. Suddenly, I heard someone stir in their bed. A sound of someone getting up. God, that's loud. Oh my god, the sound of them getting up is so loud. Then another one. A few confused whispers. Would I be an alpha or an omega? I would never be part of Omegaverse. If I lived in the Omegaverse, I'd kill myself. There's no 18 plus notice and just 13-year-old sex like we do in Romania? What the hell's going on in Romania? I can't acknowledge what you're saying. Can you smell that? A shaky voice laced with something that felt like danger. What is it? I don't know, but it's driving me crazy. I caught a whiff of musk in the air that wasn't there before. The smell seemed to intensify with surprising rapidity. Rapidity. Is that how I say it? My pulse raced. It's an alpha in the area, or is it an omega? I don't know. A wave of heat rose to my cheeks and hit so hard I had to forcefully suppress a whimper. Instinctively, apparently underage sex, shh. Instinctively, my body understood what was happening, even if my mind didn't. And it wanted. I feel weird. What the hell? Me too. I think I have to. If I don't do something, I feel like I'll die. Terrified, I got up as quietly as I could and sneaked out of the lounge, catching a glimpse of a few silhouettes creeping up towards my bed a moment later. Not pausing to think about what I was doing. Why were silhouettes approaching his bed? Were people trying to gang rape him? I ran down the hallway on shaky, weak legs. I wanted nothing more than to give in under my weight. The wet dog smell from the rain. You married gypsies at 12 years old? What? I don't know what's going on in Romania. What was happening to me? My accent is a mix of British and Southern. Thank you. The only thing I understood was that I had to get away. Thank you so much for that compliment. Ooh, 13-year-old about to get destroyed. Away from the whispers, away from the smells. I crouched down in a deserted corridor, scared and confused, with sweat running down my back. The cool surface of the stone floor soon felt like ice to my bare feet. but did little to soothe my nerves. Yes, zoom in on those legs. On those white lily legs. My entire being felt like set ablaze. Like it was set ablaze? My breaths were rapid and shallow. Blood kept pounding in my ears, sending me to an even greater panic. What if I don't hear someone approaching? Should I stay put or move further away from the danger? What if they can smell me? I had no idea why such thoughts even occurred to me. Huh, I've noticed already, like, quite a few, like at least 3 or 4, like, errors in the, syntax and grammar. I couldn't trust my body. My skin felt cold, sweaty, and disgusting. And now even my consciousness no longer felt like my own body. I like this music, though. I mean, if there's one thing I'm liking, it's this music. Also, is he heterochromic? Look, his right eye is way darker blue than his left eye. He's heterochromic. Contradicting emotions and impulses were tearing my insides apart. I wanted to scream. To stand up and run as far as possible. To stay forever in that cold, empty corridor and never be found. To hear my parents say everything is going to be alright. What's happening to me? After what felt like hours of trembling in the cold and forcing my senses into alert, sleep finally took over me. They was bumping when they made this game in the studio. When I opened my eyes, everything around me was white. What? Did he just get raped? I blinked a few times. I realized that I was lying in a bed, my body securely wrapped in clean ivory sheets that smelled like soap. The hospital wing of the orphanage. Don't worry. Wait, no, that's the nurse. I should have done a female voice. A nurse appeared in my line of sight, undoubtedly sensing my growing uneasiness. Everything's going to be No, everything is fine. She smelled nice. Calm. There's no reason to worry about anything, Aura. You're safe here. I'll take care of you. Am I sick? As if sensing the question that was forming in my head, the nurse gave me a small, reassuring smile. It seems that you presented yesterday. Oh, yuck. So he was letting out pheromones. Congratulations. You totally got gang raped and now you're here recovering. What? I shifted in the bed, feeling the familiar wave of heat creep up my spine again. I'm sure you don't feel too well right now, but it's all temporary. An Omega's heat lasts up to 5 days, but since it's your first one, there's the possibility that you'll need to stay here for a little bit longer. Oh my god, we just got our period. Oh god, and it makes people around us horny. An Omega. A word every child feared upon presenting. I didn't know what it meant exactly, nor wanted to find out. But people talked, and whatever adults said eventually echoed among children as well. His name is Aura? You're confused? His name is Aura. The majority of our population were betas, not exceeding in anything in particular, but resourceful enough to become self-sufficient in any environment. Then there were the alphas, the strong and the respected natural leaders and warriors, outshading betas both physically and intellectually. They were at the top of every hierarchy that mattered, from business to politics. Whatever they wanted, they took. They had a right to. Lastly, Omegas. Rare and alluring, sought out for their beauty and nurturing instincts. But also fragile. Emotional. Expected to conform and please. born to become a prized ornament decorating their alpha's household. About yesterday. The nurse explained what happened last night. My secondary gender is manifested in what's called presenting. My hormones prompted a few other students to wake up and present as well. Lured by the unknown smell, they followed me outside and were found in the morning, wandering in the orphanage corridors. I was taken to the ward where I could wait out my fragile state. I knew that from now on, things won't ever be the same. Well, we're back here. As I struggled with the changes to how people perceive me, I've come to realize that being an Omega will not define only my social status, but also the few opportunities I was allowed to have in life. I could no longer attend classes with those who hadn't presented yet. My schedule was altered. The focus of my education shifted to subjects that were considered suitable for Omegas. Singing, dancing, knitting, preparing meals. Even the disabled and sickly alpha children started treating me different. Like I was less, no longer equal. All Omegas in the orphanage were kept in a separate ward during their heats, a measure to protect them as well as the alphas. Aside from the humiliating times when I was confined to a ward, I could live my life mostly undisturbed. I used to read a lot, imagining myself in a completely different life in a faraway land. You don't like Omegaverse because of racism? Well, that's a good reason to hate it. Dreaming up absurd but uplifting scenarios was something that helped me get through the hardest, gloomiest moments of my childhood. After 5 years, I had more or less come to terms with the restrictions imposed by my body. I felt grateful for this period of stability. But things couldn't last this way. Things could only last this way. I read that wrong a few times. Everyone was anxious of the future. It was a feeling we all shared, though certainly Omegas had more reasons to be afraid. Give him a sandwich? Hey, has plenty of meat on his bones. Yesterday was my 19th birthday. Damn. No more sexy teenager sex. Well, I guess he's still a teenager. I was no longer protected by laws that applied only to children. I knew this day would come eventually, that I'd be requested to take whatever little I had and leave the orphanage. But once it did, my heart was heavier than I expected. To provide for myself as an adult, was it really possible for an Omega? Oh, this is what he looks like now, guys. No more baby. Now he's big man. I stepped outside the shelter and turned back to glance at the familiar building one last time. That was it. I no longer had a place to come back to. What now? I heard about my options as part of the senior curriculum. Since every alpha, especially one that could afford it, wanted to marry an Omega, I was advised to go to a marriage house. There I would be financially supported until a generous sponsor was found to take me into his household and provide for me for the rest of my life. The alpha that took me in would need to cover all my marriage house expenses as well as pay a hefty donation to the institution. As I had no means of earning any income by myself, it was a debt I was expected to repay with servitude and obedience. Which, in reality, means becoming a living, breathing property of some man I didn't even know. My price and future role in the new household would be negotiated between the parties, and finally a deal would be made. He needs a buffet, not a sandwich? One I had no vote in, despite being a commodity that was being traded. Teachers tried to make the idea sound reasonable, telling the Omegas that they would be comfortable and safe from the threats outside of their homes. Bonding with a stranger, can I really do it? What the hell are Omega's pets? Yes. I didn't want to. With growing anxiety, I wandered the streets in search of a different solution. Is this a sex trade? Yes. There had to be something somewhere. I just had to keep looking. For hours, I couldn't come up with anything. Despite my best efforts, no one wanted to see an unaccompanied Omega in their establishment, so asking for employment or even a place to stay for the night seemed out of the question. The sky turned dark blue, then pinkish purple. It was getting late. I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. No matter where I went, people were turning me down before I even managed to explain my situation. They didn't care about my abilities or even the fact that I was willing to work for half the salary a beta would. I briefly considered spending the night on the streets, but quickly dismissed the idea. Being alone after dark was far too dangerous to risk it. Resigned, I headed to the marriage house. I'll just rest a little, think about my options again. Perhaps this place isn't so bad. Everyone recommended I go there after all. If there's a small chance I can get a job through the house, I should do my best to make it happen. The marriage house was an opulent building on the main street. It had more ornaments than taste, making it look particularly extravagant. I couldn't escape the impression that it was trying to set itself apart by mocking the surrounding properties. It gave me an odd, unsettling feeling. I hope they don't charge an entrance fee. Oh, he looks like he's about to pass out. Good evening, how can I be of service? Good evening, I'd like to stay here. We are happy to take you in, provided that you agree to participate in our matchmaking. I'm not sure if I want a partner at the moment. I heard that I could find a job here. I can cook and do all kinds of housework. We're not hiring at the moment, but you may be aware we also act as an employment agency. We offer a variety to staff. We offer a variety of staff to our clients, including housekeepers. Destroy the caste system? He looks depressed. How do I sign up? We weren't expecting anyone this late. If you don't mind, one of my friends will go over the details in the morning. That's fine. Excellent. Before I show you to your quarters, I will need to record a few things. What's your full name? I'm Marcel Barrett. I'm Aura Moonbell. What a bullshit name. How old are you? He looks constipated? I'm 19. Do you have any debts? No, I don't think so. Are you currently feeling ill? I'm feeling well. Thank you, that's all. Moonbell, LMFAO? I know, right? That name is kind of dumb. He left the counter and moved past me. Please, follow me. I'll take you to your room. We have a dining room over there if you'd like to eat something. The bathrooms are on each floor. Marcel didn't waste any time. His steps were faster than I expected, forcing me into a half run if I wanted to follow. The music is good. The music is good. The one saving grace of this game, so far. There was no tension in his movements, just purposefulness. He seemed like someone who's done this 100 times before, but was too professional to show even a shade of fatigue. I'm really glad they decided to take me in, despite the late hour. Aura Moonbell sounds like an emo middle schooler's Snapchat name. I'm not sure what would happen to me otherwise. As we were going up the stairs, I had a moment to glance around and take in my surroundings. Numerous lamps provided day-like illumination, emphasizing the pleasant light peach color of the walls. The corridors were quiet and empty, with close to no furniture. A few worn carpets and a shabby dresser was all I could count. The simple interior of the building was not quite matching its opulent exterior, giving off a rather cold, desolate feeling. Taking into consideration how rare Omegas were, it wasn't all that surprising that a marriage house wasn't filled to the brim with tenants. I wonder how many people are living here at the moment. When Marcel spoke again, we were standing in front of a door, one of many in a long corridor. We're here. I'm sure you will like our twin room. It's vacant at the moment, but I believe it won't stay that way for long. I'll come by tomorrow morning if you need anything. Feel free to ask one of the doormen. Marcel gave me a small nod and turned around, fixing his collar as he went down the stairs. After a short moment, I pushed the door open. The room was tidy and plain, just enough to offer some comfort, but certainly not welcoming enough to make one want to stay any longer than necessary. With its few shelves, 2 cabinets, and a window that offered a view on the tenements on the side alley, the room was a shelter that, by its design, reminded me of how bleak my situation was. I put all my belongings on the top cabinet by the bed. It wasn't much: a change of clothes, folder with some documents, a pen, ink, diary, and my favorite book. It was called Adventures of Kale. What I found particularly interesting was its description of different cultures. In some of them, omegas and alphas were considered equals, both capable of making their own fates. I used to daydream about visiting the vibrantly depicted lands. The fact that places like this even existed filled me with an irrational sort of hope. Welcome to the stage, Aura Moonbell. It sounds like a drag name. Is this one song plagiarized? Is it? But there is no use getting lost in such fantasies. My life is taking place right here, right now. And I had to make the best of what I had been given. My stomach is growling. Now that I think about it, I haven't eaten anything since this morning. I left the room. The corridor was mostly quiet, filled only with a slight rustle of conversation. I was wondering where all of the people went earlier. Now I saw some leaning from behind the doors and curiously following my path with their eyes. It felt odd. Was it so surprising to see a new face? They avoided eye contact and gave me no greeting, though I couldn't blame them, as I'd probably do the same thing. He looks perfectly healthy, guys. He doesn't need a sandwich, okay? During my short walk to the dining room, I managed to shake off the uneasiness. I told myself that I had nothing to be worried about. This place might not be ideal, but it's good enough accommodation while I look for something else. There wasn't much to say about dinner. It was cold but also free, which is all I could ask for given the circumstances. It didn't differ from what I was served at the orphanage all that much. Right after eating, I felt incredibly tired. The sky behind the windows had already gotten dark, and it looked like the lights had been extinguished for the night. All the more, I went straight to my new room to finally have some much-needed sleep. What? Why are we outside now? The bustling of the city outside the window had long since ceased, giving way to silence, occasionally disturbed by the wailing of cats or hooting of owls. And so passed the first night of my formal adulthood. Perhaps because I had been completely exhausted. had completely exhausted myself with worry. It was fortunately a dreamless one. I started the next day with an optimistic mood. Based on what I learned yesterday, I could expect to find a job, or at least have enough time to look for one. It seemed like I was late for breakfast. Trying to stifle a yawn, I entered a dwindling stream of people headed in the same direction. I was glad to note that no one paid any overt attention to me. Huh? Did I just hear something? When is he gonna get out of those rags? And who's moaning? Someone is moaning and I liked it. Uncertain of what it was, I turned in the direction the sound came from. I tried to strain my ears to hear it again, but there were too many people making noise around me. You know this song from somewhere else? I decided to wait for a short while, allowing them to thin out. The sound, distinctly high-pitched, was becoming clearer with each passing moment. It seemed to come from the door right behind me. Despite a bad feeling forming in my gut, I took a few steps towards it. I probably shouldn't be doing this, but looking at the door, I saw the unusual handle and a keyhole. It seems closed, but maybe I could see what was going on. Worried about getting caught, I glanced back at the empty corridor. Everyone had gone downstairs, seemingly ignorant of the issue. There was a little time to ponder, and so resolved to learn more, I faced the door. Oh, we're peeping through the hole in the keyhole? Looking through a tiny keyhole provided to be challenging, but I managed to get as comfortable as I could, and focused on the view. The room that came to my narrow field of vision was considerably more elegant than anything I've seen in the marriage house so far, with white sofas and a red carpet. Are we gonna see someone jerkin'? Then two half-naked figures and an elderly man circling them came into view, and I had to cover my mouth with a hand to muffle a startled gasp. Oh god. Daddy alert. Daddy alert. One of the figures, a black-haired Omega, was sobbing with his arms wrapped around himself in a protective manner. He looked small and frail, like someone who wasn't entirely sure what was happening to them and how to stop it. The other was also an Omega, was lean and tall. His pose spoke of defiance and hostility, the anger in him winning over fear. It was clear that both were intimidated by the man that seemed to be assessing them, taking his time to unhurriedly slide his gaze down their nearly nude bodies. The older man, dressed in nothing but a bathrobe and slippers, looked both relaxed and threatening. He moved like a snake that had just woken up to hunt his prey, weaving with confidence and precision. Grandpa alert? I know, don't you love it? When he stopped in front of the smaller boy and took a step towards him, the Omega burst out in tears and flinched as if he had been hit. So that's what that strange sound was. Someone's pain. A bile? Bile rose to my throat. I didn't want to know or see any of this, and yet... Ooh, you pitching a tent in your pants? I couldn't bring myself to look away. It was just too hot. This one has never been with an alpha before, and is a little skittish, but I hope you'll agree that his beauty fully makes up for that. A well-modulated male voice rang sweetly from somewhere outside my limited field of vision. The man didn't turn his head to look in his direction, fully focusing on the brunette instead. You may notice the cut on his forearm. You'll find that it's inconsequential. Our doctor confirmed that the tissue will heal without a scar, and prepared to refund part of the price in case it doesn't. That aside, he is in perfectly good health. The voice had to belong to someone who worked in the marriage house. He was presenting the two Omegas to the older man, who was their potential buyer. Or, as the marriage house would like to call it, an employer. Ooh, here's our sexy grandpa. The fact that he's describing it word for word, or that we can't see it but we still know it's happening. Alright. Did he do that to himself? What guarantee can you give me that he won't attempt to do it again after I take him home? It looks like he's sticking out his tongue almost. And that aside, you think I'm a fool? His price is way too high. He clicked his tongue with a frown, finally turning his head to look at his interlocutor. I don't know what that means. This is horrible. The price is up for negotiation. We believe that once his new master pays him some attention, this Omega is going to become a perfect partner or housekeeper. The seller's tone shifted towards condescending with a tinge of urgency. I'm sure this is new to you, my dear, but you'll have to act more presentable if you want to find a nice home. Please stand upright and show the gentleman your very best. Hearing this, the dark-haired Omega inhaled sharply and took a step back. For a brief moment, there was a look of disbelief on his face. Then he straightened his back, body still tense but compliant to the man's invasive appraisal. The buyer closed the distance between them, taking the Omega's hand into his and pulling his arm to inspect the healing wound. His palm then caressed the boy's white skin, tracking the line of his delicate biceps, finally resting on the nape of his neck. If he wasn't to show off the beat, shouldn't he bend over? Wait, what? I suppose he's acceptable. I've made up my mind. Splendid. I will get the documents ready. Please feel free to inspect him more in the meantime. What kind of clothes should I prepare for him? Something for a housemaid will be fine. I twisted my head slightly to see the salesman open one of the closets, pulling a bundle of black and white clothes out. If he wants to show off the best, then shouldn't he bend over? Yuck. The older man in the bathrobe didn't touch the Omega again, folding his arms instead. He looked disinterested. After a few moments, I heard his voice. Do you have anyone from Sinarkets? They're talking about a large country in the east. I remember how adventurer Kale called it the nation of tribes, where Omegas enjoyed the same rights as everyone else. I also saw a few photos of Sinkaretti people in the newspaper when I was in the orphanage. This nation is known for their dark skin, lean bodies, and almost cat-like features. According to the articles I've read, they celebrate some of the most ancient traditions, decorating their faces with golden tattoos and jewelry. Unfortunately, we don't have any Sinkaretti here at the moment. As you probably already know, they're incredibly rare and difficult to transport across the continent. We usually get 2, maybe 3 a year. However, I'm delighted to confirm that you are currently on the top of our waiting list. You will know first when we get another Sinkaretti. The salesman handed the Omega his new work uniform, observing impatiently as the boy with his face still wet from tears dressed up without a word. Does anyone else get turned on by human sex trafficking? I know I do. Shall we go sign the contract now? Is there anyone else you'd like to see? That's all for today. I'm in a hurry. Let's not waste time. No? Interesting. What? Move, little bitch. They're gonna find you. Footsteps steadily increasing in volume created a distraction which brought me to my senses. I leaned against the wall and saw a few inhabitants return to their rooms. This is bad. I have to go. They can't catch me eavesdropping. Just as I managed to hide behind the corner of the corridor, the door opened and the people I've seen through the keyhole stepped out of the room. Yuck. 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 Ready to go home, darling. You guys, how do you guys, is the Omega cute? I have a feeling you'll be great at your work. Yes, sir. A bit of Adnan tease? Adnan tease? What does that mean? That outfit is terrible. That's a maid outfit. It kind of looks a little bit like chainmail on his arms, but it's a maid outfit. Don't worry. Good, good. I promise you will like it there. A shiver ran down my spine. Still upset by what I just saw, my mind jumped from one worrisome scenario to the next. I was so close to becoming forced into an indentured servitude, if not outright slavery. Whatever the terms of the contract entailed, it wasn't in any way going to be beneficial to me. It was realistic to extrapolate that I'd end up catering to any needs of my employer, including sexual service. A bit of communism here wouldn't be too bad. Communism is never bad anywhere. And also a lot of it. My competence didn't matter to them. It would only be used to appease and delude me. I had to act, move quickly. Every second I stayed in this place, I risked springing into trap. Someone wearing that can never set foot in your home? Well, shit. I returned to my room and gathered my things in a flash. Already going downstairs, I heard Marcel. Where are you going? We haven't finished the agreements. He ran up to me and grabbed my hand. Get away from me. I pushed him back and barged through the door. The pain in my arm became noticeable after I moved across a number of streets. My arm must have been hit very hard when I was pushing the door. The creepy old man has the most fashion sense. He was wearing a bathrobe. You made communist villages on Minecraft? I salute thee, comrade. It took me a while to get my nerves under control, and when I did, I was back where I started with my problem. Even if it wasn't common for an orphan Omega to find a normal occupation, I knew that some were successful. I firmly believed there was something somewhere that I could do and feel comfortable about. Starting off, it could be something basic, boring even, so long as I could preserve my dignity. I would look for better ways when I got there. Whoa, you got off the screen fast. Two betas were moving in the opposite direction. I had to move aside to make way. As they brushed past me, pieces of the conversation reached my ears. Hey, have you been to the new employment center yet? There's something like that? Sure is, on the far end of Abbott Street, where the bank used to be, you know? It's relatively new, but I heard there's lots of job offers. Everyone goes there instead of checking on the bulletin boards or the newspaper. Daddy Stalin will protect you? Oh my lord. An employment center? How could I miss something like that, I thought? I should head there right away. I can't think of a better place to go. Abbey Street. I'm pretty sure I know where that is. Yes. Never mind the earlier misfortune. This could be my chance. Oh, Kylie's leaving? Goodbye. With hopes renewed, I pushed the heavy doors to the center open and went inside. This place is full of people. Hopefully there's still something left for me. The place was impossibly crowded. I couldn't spot another Omega among the swarm of alphas and betas. Not letting that discourage me, I lined up to the job board and waited patiently for my turn to take a look. What job are you hoping to find? A short beta next to me addressed a taller, more bulky alpha companion. Not sure. Construction, maybe? I'm not going to be that picky. Alphas from good homes have a much easier start when it comes to better paying jobs. True, but still, as an alpha, I'm pretty sure you can do almost anything they have to offer. You think so? Your family is rich. What are you doing here anyway? I let the rest of the conversation slide. Alphas, even orphaned, even criminals, could always make a good living. They were useful. Even their muscle, provided by a stronger physique, was always in demand. It was so much easier for them to do what they pleased. Whatever they pleased. He's going in the building looking like a bum, still wearing rags from the orphanage. I know, right? He looks awful. Be it becoming a baker, a carpenter, even a surgeon or a painter, they could do it all. I wonder how it feels to be that lucky. Not having to worry about the future. I shook my head, stopping the ensuing rant. After several minutes, it was finally my turn to look at the job board. Let's see. What? What is this? What's going on? Alpha only? Alphas and betas? Uh-huh. Okay. Alpha surgeons needed? Construction work. Alpha bakers. Surgeons. Alpha and beta dockyard workers. Blacksmith, carpenters, miners, fishermen, and also alpha or beta only. Omega wife. Omega companions needed. My eyes skimmed through the notes scattered all over the board multiple times, hoping to notice something I missed. No way. Workplace discrimination. I know. There were lots, literally lots of notes, and none of them, not a single one asking for omegas. At first I wasn't sure, but I would have spotted a random O by now. I spent a few minutes looking at the board. I thought that... I clenched my teeth. What did I think indeed? Of course they wouldn't have anything for pathetic Omega. All we are good for is becoming housewives, concubines, bed warmers. Anything that requires tending to someone else's needs. People like me will have to contend with always being a few steps away from defeat. He's not getting a job looking like that. What we pursue so carefully can fall apart more easily because we're omegas. There's like 13 pieces of paper on that board. How is this an employment office? Well, there aren't a lot of jobs. Maybe there's a depression. Failure is somehow fitting for the narrative ascribed to us by others. And this skewed perception makes it acceptable when others feel jealous of us, defame us, or challenge us more frequently compared to other genders if we step outside of our roles. Our skills and competence don't matter. Our interests, dreams, don't matter. We don't matter. Not to alphas, nor anyone else. I can't believe it. I stood there, frozen, clenching my fists hard, head stiff on my neck. With every weary glance I cast on the board, it felt like the last shred of hope was dissolving into nothingness. Is he having a crisis in the hall right now? Yes. I couldn't move. Just go become a sex slave. What's the big deal? If I did, I may have punched the board from all this pent-up frustration. Did someone just slap him? Suddenly, someone's elbow jabbed into my side painfully. I yelped in surprise, turning to look at an older, scruffy-looking alpha. The man measured me with a cold, calculating eyes. You done, Omega? Stop blocking the board. Get out of here already. What is that look supposed to mean? You have something to say? My heart hammered in my chest as the alpha and betas around us started darting curious looks in my direction, as if only now noticing my presence. You'd throw hands? Wait, there's an Omega here. What for? You'd think the housewives knew their place by now. Or maybe someone didn't manage to keep him on his leash properly. Unbelievable. How cocky is that one? I shouldn't have come here. I felt misty-eyed, yet boiling with anger at the same time. Noticing my expression, the alpha who confronted me only snickered with distaste. That's right, Odd-Eye. Get lost before I decide to give you a job that suits you. I think he's suggesting that he might rape us. Oh, you will scare him. Whatever, I don't have time to spare on a pest like him. No matter how much I wanted to stand up for myself, I couldn't afford to get hurt over something like that. Those entitled, disgusting. It didn't matter. I had no business in this place anymore. Disheartened, I left the queue. Well, shit. I paced back and forth for a long while, wondering what to do from now on. At least attempt to. I didn't want to give up. I felt like the moment I leave the job center, it's all over. The only place for me to go will be to the marriage house. That or loitering, looking for trouble that would inevitably find me. I'm so tired of all this. Deep down, all this time I had hope. I wanted to believe that things will work out. That no matter how miserable my start in life was, it would all somehow fall into place eventually. But as a homeless Omega, I'm not allowed to have a choice. Why did I even bother? I was under no illusion that whoever took me in from the marriage house would have good intentions. Escape is possible, I suppose, if the conditions aren't tolerable. Where are we now? At least I know I tried. It hurts. The feeling of being powerless and disrespected. Having to settle for whatever someone else decided was good for me. Or rather, good for them, using me as part of their selfish plans. My feelings oscillated between anger and despair. Damn it. Oh no. There's a daddy here for us. Any problem? No. I was just leaving. Is that so? I assume you didn't find what you were looking for here. Who is this man? He didn't sound or look judgmental. Sugar daddy? His smell was unrecognizable. He wasn't an Omega, that much was certain, but the air around him was somehow different, and it was difficult to guess his gender. Should I tell him what happened earlier? Okay. There was no point in lying. I was pretty sure he figured out anyway. What did I have to lose? There wasn't even a single job offer for an Omega on the board. They also advised me to leave, to put it mildly. So no, I did not. I see. May I have a moment of your time? My name is Dr. Charles Langham. What is yours? Aura Moonbell. It's so nice to meet you, Aura. I work for a university that's prepared a perfect opportunity for a young man like you. A perfect opportunity for a lonely Omega? As if that could happen. I have a few ideas what that might be. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. The man gave me a peculiar look. You misunderstand. Your secondary gender is irrelevant. As you probably know, finding occupation without a strong educational background is difficult, sometimes impossible. What makes matters worse is that Omegas aren't allowed to earn any academic degree. This, however, is about to change. Mannequin Academy, the university I work for, is among the first to enter a temporary program sanctioned by the National Institute of Education. The goal of this program is to measure Omega's aptitude for higher education, which, if successful, would justify granting Omegas permanent access to all university courses and degrees, previously restricted to other genders. Uh-oh, we're gonna start our school life, guys. If you were to gain a university degree and its support, things would be different. And we're gonna have classroom sex. You would be free to choose a respectable career in the country and abroad. Depending on how well you do, you could be the first Omega ambassador or politician. Although that may seem like an exaggeration, endless opportunities would await you. In school, we were told how prestigious universities opened many doors. Just take some tea and grow some balls? Oh my god. You're being racist against Omegas. They educated the very best, future doctors, company directors, scientists, politicians. We gonna Malcolm X this? Yeah, baby. Positions of power and status that most didn't even dare to dream about. But that sort of life was reserved only for the richest, most influential families that could afford the associated fees and support their children over the course of many years. Particularly gifted students could manage the tuition costs if they were awarded a scholarship. However, Omegas couldn't apply for such grants as, by law and custom, they were not allowed to distinguish themselves academically. I never considered higher education because of how hopeless it seemed for a penniless orphan like me. Why is Omegaverse a thing? I don't know, hon. Some people get off on this. Some people have already gotten off in the comments, I'm sure. I'm sure it's wonderful being able to afford it. I wouldn't be telling you this if it wasn't attainable for you. Please don't joke like this. My voice was sharper than I intended. I couldn't stand the idea of hope when there was none. Mannequin Academy is still recruiting for the current academic year. I happen to be the representative this week. And you're also a professor. Unlike the other prestigious universities, we accept students from all social backgrounds, regardless of their secondary gender, and whether or not they're able to financially support their own education. Not gonna lie, it kinda turns you on. Exactly, you see, Lamont likes this Omegaverse shit. He's a sick little deviance. We believe that brilliant individuals should be given a chance. Brilliant individuals? How can he possibly tell? I don't believe you, or that's wonderful. I don't believe you! Forgive my skepticism, but that sounds far too good to be real. It is, however, the truth. This is precisely the reason I am here. Rather than passively accept applications from the local elites, I'd like to give those who are truly passionate about refining their talent and knowledge a fair chance. I was just about to hang the last call recruitment announcement on the posting board when the crowd got overwhelming, as you surely noticed. I never thought I'd see an Omega among them. I must admit I was impressed. I'm not familiar with your current situation, but it was very brave of you to try and take your fate into your own hands, regardless of your reasons. Our objective is to nurture inquisitive minds and support brave, extraordinary individuals. Especially if the only factor stopping them from achieving their goals is being unable to financially support their education. Institution tells me that you're a perfect candidate for the sponsorship. I am rarely wrong when it comes to students. I scanned his face several times for any signs of insincerity. If that man really was a professor and giving me a tangible opportunity to improve my standing in life, then I was incredibly out of this world lucky. Something was telling me he must have been well aware of the fact that it wasn't courage that had driven me here, but rather a painful lack of any sensible alternative options. Still, what did I really have to lose, even if he did deceive me? The way I was now, no matter how much I hated to admit it, it was pretty much hopeless. The only thing waiting for me was a marriage house, or worse, an Omega brothel. What do you say? If you agree, we should depart right away. It's not like I had any real choice. I had to take this chance. I agree. Lead the way, Professor. I hope you aren't actually selling me into sexual slavery and this was all just a ruse. Look at our new home. After a long carriage ride, we finally arrived at the premises. The academy and its surroundings look so vast, to say the least. I haven't seen anything like that before. This is the academy. Since I have some urgent business to attend to, you have to continue by yourself from here. There's someone waiting to greet you already. Don't waste time. Thank you for everything. We will meet again soon. Take your time to settle in. The Academy of Sex? Oh, we're gonna pop the roof off this academy, guys, with all the anal, unprotected MPreg sex we'll be having. With that concise introduction, the doctor bid me goodbye. I watched the carriage leave, not taking my eyes off it until the vehicle disappeared into the forest. When it was no longer visible in the thick maze of trees and bushes, I finally turned to glance at the academy once again. Hopefully there really is someone expecting me. Part of me was doubtful, but thinking about it was no longer of any use. I did my best to silence what-ifs and took a step forward, admiring the beautiful park that stretched around the building as I walked towards the entrance. Ew, MPreg? You want like MPreg. Don't lie. Just like Dr. Langham said, there was someone standing at the door looking at my direction with a placid smile. The way he carried himself spoke of confidence and strong character, which added to the alpha-like air around him. But as I approached, it became clear that, strangely enough, he was actually a beta. Yeah. Alright. Let me just save the game because, guys, I think right as we see widely spaced eyes here, I'm gonna end the stream here.